They shamed her looks. Now she haunts their every shadow. It started as a cruel joke. A whisper in the school hallways, a smirk exchanged between students, a cruel nickname that spread like wildfire. Eleanor Graves was the girl no one wanted to be seen with, the girl whose face was a canvas of scars, her skin pale and uneven, her eyes too large for comfort. They called her Shadow Face, saying she looked like a ghost that had forgotten to stay dead. She had grown used to the whispers, the laughter, the way people avoided looking at her directly. But what Eleanor never got used to was the pain, the deep, suffocating ache of loneliness that clung to her like a second skin. Until the night, everything changed. The bonfire behind Blackridge High roared into the dark autumn night, flames licking the cold air. Students gathered, their laughter sharp and cruel, their faces half-lit in the flickering glow. Jason, Maya, and Brent, the three most popular students in school, stood in a tight group, whispering. "She's here," Maya smirked, nudging Jason. Eleanor stood at the edge of the clearing, hesitant, clutching her worn-out jacket around her small frame. She had been invited, for the first time ever. Maya had smiled at her in class that morning, her eyes glinting with something unreadable. "You should come to the bonfire tonight. We want you there." Something deep inside Eleanor had warned her that it was a lie. But against her better judgment, she had wanted to believe. Jason raised his voice. "We have a special dare tonight, guys. A real test of courage." Excited murmurs spread through the crowd. Jason's dares were legendary. He turned towards Eleanor. "Since you finally decided to crawl out of the shadows, Eleanor, how about you prove you belong here?" The crowd went silent. Eleanor's heart pounded. Brent grinned, holding up an old handheld mirror, its edges chipped, its surface slightly cracked. "You ever heard of the shadow curse?" Eleanor shook her head, and Maya smirked. "It's simple," Maya said, stepping closer. "There's an abandoned hunter's cabin deep in the woods. It's where a woman named Margaret Holloway used to live, before she was burned alive for being, well, ugly." The students laughed cruelly. "They say she cursed her reflection before she died," Brent added. "Anyone who looks into a mirror in her house at midnight never comes back the same." Jason shoved the mirror into Eleanor's hands. "Your dare. Take this inside the cabin, look into the mirror, and say, 'I see you.'" Eleanor swallowed hard. The air around her seemed colder. Jason grinned, stepping even closer, voice lowering to a mocking whisper. "Or are you too scared, Shadowface?" Laughter erupted around her. Eleanor's fingers clenched around the mirror. Her cheeks burned with humiliation. She should turn around. She should run. But instead, she nodded. "Fine," she whispered. "I'll do it." The trees loomed overhead, their skeletal branches blocking the moonlight. The cabin sat hunched among the twisted trunks, its windows dark and gaping, its wooden door hanging slightly open. A graveyard silence filled the air. No wind. No rustling leaves. Even the insects refused to make a sound. Eleanor stepped inside, her breath shallow. Dust swirled in the faint moonlight seeping through the broken ceiling. The air was thick with the scent of rot and something else, something metallic. She lifted the mirror. Her reflection stared back at her, distorted by the cracks. Her two large eyes, her uneven skin, the sharp angles of her face. She hesitated. Then, swallowing her fear, she whispered, "I see you." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the air shifted. A soft breath against her ear. A whisper that was not hers. The mirror's surface rippled, like disturbed water. And then, her reflection blinked. Eleanor gasped, stumbling back. Her reflection wasn't following her movements. It was grinning. A sudden, sharp crack echoed through the cabin. The mirror shattered in her hands. Pain lanced through her palms. Blood dripped onto the wooden floor. And then, the lights in the cabin flickered to life. No. Not lights. Eyes. Hundreds of them. Opening in the darkness. Staring at her. A voice, low and guttural, echoed through the room. "I see you too." The door slammed shut behind her. The return. The students at the bonfire were laughing, drinking, waiting for Eleanor to come running back, crying, humiliated, defeated. But she didn't come back. Minutes stretched into an hour. Then 2. The fire dimmed, and nervous glances were exchanged. Jason scoffed. She probably chickened out and ran home. Brent frowned. Then why hasn't she answered her phone? Maya shivered. The night suddenly felt too quiet. Then, from the edge of the trees, she appeared. Eleanor stood there, her jacket torn, her hair disheveled. But it wasn't the disarray that made their stomachs turn to ice. It was her face. Her scars were gone. Her skin was smooth, flawless. But something was wrong. Her eyes were too dark, too deep, too empty. Jason forced a laugh. Nice try, Shadowface. We know you're messing with us. Eleanor tilted her head. Then she smiled. Maya screamed. Because that smile wasn't Eleanor's. It was too wide, too sharp, stretching far past the limits of human skin. A whisper curled through the air, the same voice from the cabin, layered beneath Eleanor's own. You see me now. And then, the lights went out. The fire gutted itself in an instant, plunging the world into pure, suffocating darkness. The last thing they heard before the screaming started was the sound of a mirror breaking. To be continued. Part 2 will delve deeper into the horror Eleanor brings upon those who tormented her, until she's nothing but a shadow in their every nightmare.